Hey, hello friends. Welcome to episode 184 of the Juicebox Podcast. Cast? Yeah, okay, whatever. Let me do it again. Hello and welcome to episode 184 of the Juicebox Podcast. On today's episode of the show, Jake Leach is returning. You remember Jake from Dexcom? He came and talked a few months ago when G6 came out. Jake is the Senior Vice President of Research and Development at Dexcom. Today, Jake's back to talk about Basal IQ and the T-Slim pump, the Type 1Z... boy, I gotta tell you people, I'm tired, but I'm just gonna keep going. The TypeZero acquisition, what they have coming up, and a lot more in this briefer than you're normally used to episode of the podcast. That was English. Here we go. Please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise, and to always consult a physician before making changes to your healthcare plan. This episode of the podcast is sponsored today by Dancing for Diabetes, by Omnipod, the tubeless insulin pump, and by Dexcom, makers of the G6 continuous glucose monitor. There'll be links mentioned during the show. Please make clicky on them. I started seeing news about the FDA clearance for T-Slim, and they're going to start using something they're calling Basal IQ, and I started seeing people using it a little bit, and I wondered, so I picked through it. Seemed like it was a low suspend feature, and what it really made me start thinking about, if I'm being honest, is it just started making me wonder about all your other partnerships and where everything is headed, and this is still pretty early. So the first thing I wanted to ask you was, what's the functionality on the T-Slim pump, and how does the Dexcom data make it work?
Sure, great. So the Basal IQ is the first pump that takes CGM data, first commercial product, takes Dexcom CGM data and adjusts the insulin being delivered based on the CGM reading. So the product's called Basal IQ, and what it does is it suspends insulin delivery when it predicts that glucose is trending low. And one of the exciting things about it is it can very quickly turn insulin back on when it starts to see the change, the algorithm sees the change it wants to in the CGM readings. It can turn the insulin back on. It's not like a long period of suspension. So I think that's a nice feature of the product. It's the very first integration with Tandem and G6. So they previously had the G5 pump, which was a sensor augmented pump with T-Slim, and now patients can basically do a firmware upgrade to the pump to get the Basal IQ functionality with G6, and so we're excited about that. Well, it was able to went through the FDA very quickly for the review period because of one of the things that aided that was the iCGM standard, that G6 being the only CGM out there with the integrated CGM a designation by the FDA. That part of that designation is all of the performance metrics for both sensor performance but also the connectivity. And so that is one of the things that aided the approval of that product so quickly. It was having that designation with G6.
And I'm not familiar with T-Slim, but so people have the pump now. They just need a firmware upgrade to make this work if they have a Dexcom?
Yeah, depending on which pump they have. So Tandem started, I don't really know the exact date, but last year they started shipping a pump that is capable of being firmware updated. So the first update that was available for it was the G5 integration, so you could upgrade and have G5 connectivity to your pump. And now those same pumps can be updated with the Basal IQ algorithm, and it will connect up to G6.
That algorithm only works with the 6, not with the G5.
Correct, yeah. That's my understanding. That's my understanding.
And so there's the other side of it doesn't exist, right? If my blood sugar starts to go up, it doesn't give me insulin. It's not any kind of that kind of a.
Not commercially, not yet. Okay. But there's they are working on a product that is called Control IQ that has the TypeZero algorithm embedded in it. Mm-hmm. So the news recently, Dexcom acquired TypeZero The company is a spin-out of the University of Virginia that was developing closed-loop algorithm technology as well as technology for decision support within the area of diabetes. So we acquired that company recently and are excited to work with Tandem on implementation of the Control IQ algorithm, right. Generation 1, and then future generations as well.
Is that TypeZero acquisition, is there anything there you can really discuss? I saw that come through and I thought, well, there's got to be a great reason for that, and I just don't know if it's obvious to the rest of us yet.
Yeah, there's a couple of things about the acquisition that really make sense. We've had a long history working with TypeZero through all of their clinical trials, both the work that was done at the University of Virginia as well as TypeZero itself. So we've been the sensor that they've used for all of that work, our different generations. So we worked really closely with the team. It's a very talented team in both algorithm development and implementation, and also clinical work in the area of closed loop. So we wanted to that team to be part of the Dexcom team. So that was one aspect of it. The other aspect of it was the technology that they developed. The Control IQ algorithm is a very good insulin-only algorithm that we were very interested in continuing to evolve that algorithm and making it available to our pump partners. And so Tandem's the first pump partner to be working with that algorithm, and we hope that others. We know many of our partners have their own algorithms, which we support that as well. This is another potential offering that they could take advantage of. One of the things that Dexcom, one of the things we try and do is enable our pump partners with as much technology as we can, and to provide the integrated products. And this is another option. We also have now a team that's closely tied to the University of Virginia. That can do, we can influence work that's done there, and we're really excited about some of the future, both work on the AP algorithm, so fine-tuning the first generation, making a second generation, third generation that continues to enhance what the algorithm can do, which is main thing there is keep folks within their target glucose range. So we've got lots of exciting aspects to work on there, and then also our decision support strategy and the different work we plan to do there. The TypeZero team will be assisting us with that as well.
So is that in any way, and maybe you can't say, is that in any way an indication that you guys are getting into the insulin pump business, or are you getting into the licensing of your algorithm to insulin pump companies' business? Hey, the episode's short, so I'll make the ads even shorter. Arden turned 14 years old this summer. She's been using the Omnipod since she was 4 years old, and we are 100% on the team. It's kind of exciting sometimes when I see other pumps like, oh, they have low suspend now or something like that, but Omnipod's on their way. They may not have been first, but I have a good feeling they're going to be the best. So I'm willing to wait until it's their time. In the meantime, you still get tubeless, waterproof, swimming, showering, don't have to take it off while you're exercising. There's a lot of good in there. Plus, when you use the bowl with insulin ideas and the stuff we talk about here on the podcast, low suspend is nice, but my point is this. If you're using the T-Slim, right on. I got no problems with you. But if you want to try a tubeless insulin pump, you really have to go to myomnipod.com/juicebox or click on the links in the show notes and take a chance on a free demo pod. It's absolutely free. It has no obligation attached to it. You can try it on and see what you think. Doesn't hurt to try. myomnipod.com/juicebox. We are ride or die with Omnipod, and I think if you try it, you will be too. So is that in any way, and maybe you can't say, is that in any way an indication that you guys are getting into the insulin pump business, or are you getting into the licensing of your algorithm to insulin pump companies' business?
Yeah, we're not getting into the insulin pump business. We're basically acquiring pieces and toolbox and developing them ourselves of things that can enable our pump partners. And so we look at it like it's a way for us to continue to support those partners with the integrations. And now we have an algorithm that they can take advantage of if they desire, or we still support folks who have their own algorithms that they're developing, we still support that as well. It's just another option.
Right. So you'll work with a company if you have an agreement. It doesn't matter if they're using someone else's algorithm or yours, but yours is there. Yours is there.
Yeah, we
okay.
don't. Yeah.
I'm so interested.
Want to make it available.
I'm so interested to see where all that goes, Jake, because that seems like the very beginnings of something that I don't completely grasp yet. So it's incredibly exciting. And you are how are you involved in that? Like when you got that algorithm, was it like you got a new toy? Like what part of your business life did that affect the most?
It's really exciting. It basically adds to the R&D team. So it's an R&D development team that's been developing algorithms. They developed the in-control algorithm that Tandem's using, and so it's a group that's joined the Dexcom R&D team. So they're now part of our team, and we've got a few different remote offices throughout the United States where we do research and development work, and so we just added this new one in Charlottesville, and so we're excited to have them on the team, and we're basically working through all the different projects that we can now enable them to work on.
Right.
Dexcom, we have quite a platform that we can bring to that team, and we can work together now on integration of their technology into our platform.
Right. Is there aspects of their work that's going to just help the G6 work on it better? I mean, can you fold that into the sensor technology? Is there stuff there, or is that uniquely the discussion between the sensor and the pump and how it makes insulin decisions?
Right now, it's focused on how what we do with the glucose information we generate from the sensor. So that's what the team's mainly focused on. But it does go quite a bit beyond just closed loop insulin delivery. There's a lot of aspects of their team and their capabilities that we can develop, along with some of the folks here at the corporate office here in San Diego that have been working on decision support algorithms. Now it's basically just more folks to solve some of the things we're looking at solving, which is how do you provide more context to the glucose information that you're getting and help make some of the decisions that have to be made every day as you're dealing with the disease. So it's just augmenting our team with more capability. So we're very excited about it.
That's excellent. I'm excited. Can you remind me, what pump companies do you have partnerships with right now? T-Slim, obviously, but there's also, are you working with Omnipod too?
Yeah, so the what I can talk about is the partnerships that are public. We also have partnerships that are not. So the ones that are public are obviously Tandem, and then yes, we are working with Insulet on their Horizon system, which is a closed loop system that they're working on. So we're working on the integration of G6 into that product, working closely to support both clinical trials and the product development. And then we're also working with Lilly. Lilly has a pump that they have in development, an insulin pump, that we're doing both supporting clinical trials as well as development of the commercial product. And so,
Jake, would you like to lose your job and tell me about the ones that aren't public?
I'd love to tell you, but I can't. But we do have other partners that are in development as well, integrating our technology that at this point right now are non-public.
It's interesting. I've heard rumblings that Omnipod's working on bringing more choice to the community, but I don't know what that means. So I somehow feel like you do know what that means, but maybe you do and maybe you don't. And again, I respect you, and I'm not looking for you to get in trouble. I was just, it was tough when I heard that. I heard that kind of out in the world, and I was like, what does that mean? Does it mean like a different pump? Does it mean a different size pump? Is it like, what is it? Because it didn't feel like Dash or Horizon talk to me. So I was doing a lot of reading into it, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm not asking you. I'm just saying it would be nice to break a story on the podcast once in a while. That's all.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can offer you a job editing a podcast, Jake. Should you lose your job? Would you? It pays $45 a month. Anyway, so can you tell me a little more about sort of the nuts and bolts about, maybe I don't know how deeply it goes, but if you want to go deep and geeky, I'd love to hear about it. When the sensor reports, first of all, the sensor's telling that pump, we're going to be 80? Is that the number it cuts off at? the blood sugar?
You know, the specifics exactly how their algorithm works.
Their side.
I mean, I've been told the details and I've gone through it, but I don't actually have it memorized. So I don't, off the top of my head, know exactly how the feature works. But I know that it's looking ahead in time, and when the glucose drops below a certain value, it will start suspending, and then as soon as it predicts it's going to go back above that value, it turns the insulin back on.
Okay.
And it does that every 5 minutes when it gets the 5-minute CGM reading. But exactly how long it's looking at in time and the threshold at which it does it, I don't recall off the top of my head.
But that's interesting, though. So if for some reason, let's say the CGM says, hey, in however amount of time from now, you're going to be this blood sugar. So I think you have to suspend your insulin right, I don't know, here to avoid that from happening. And then 5 minutes later, when the next reading comes through, if somehow your blood sugar's taken a leap up, I don't know, somebody ran around the corner, yelled boo, and you got hit with a bunch of adrenaline, it just, boom, turns it right back on.
Yes, it does. It is one of the features where it can turn it back on rather quickly. I mean, obviously, there's some, filtering done so that it doesn't turn, doesn't falsely turn back on. But yeah, it's very quick to respond. I know that's one of the unique aspects of the technology that when I first saw it, I was very interested in.
Okay, so maybe we can talk a little more in the abstract then and get away from what it does in the T-Slim. So
yep.
when you're developing for artificial pancreas, does each pump company say to you, hey, we have different thresholds we think are right, or does that not affect how your algorithm works? I mean, we're talking about the TypeZero algorithm. Like, you don't have to adjust that algorithm to them. They just take the information from it and then do with it, make the decisions that they find to be reasonable. Is that how that goes?
Yeah, exactly. So we provide the algorithm, and what they do is we provide support for them to implement the algorithm on their device. So, for example, on the Tandem pump, the algorithm is embedded in the software of the pump, and so the TypeZero team worked with Tandem to do that and embed it into the pump, and that's for the Control IQ product. Mm-hmm. The Basal IQ product was a different algorithm that Tandem worked on that's not part of the TypeZero.
And does that work happen all remotely, or do you have people like in Massachusetts working with Insulin, as an example, or do they all just meet virtually? Right now, you can get a Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor for you or a loved one. It is incredibly simple to do. You go to dexcom.com/juicebox and you are well on your way. A little bit later in the episode, I'm going to speak again about what Arden's A1C was on the first 3 months of G6. And let me tell you that the accuracy has been spectacular for us, and it really translated to an A1C. Wait till you hear. If you don't know the number, it's going to shock you. It shocked me. Every time this company takes a leap forward, my daughter's health and welfare takes a leap right along with it. G6 has been spectacular. G5 was amazing, but, research and development. Jake's doing a really good job over there. Don't forget about the share and follow apps on Dexcom. They're available for Android or iPhone. Your son, daughter, friend, wife, spouse, I don't know, significant other, could be anywhere, using their Dexcom, and you can see what their blood sugar is remotely. That's how we make Arden's decisions for school lunches together, because I can see her blood sugar all day. You know what Arden's blood sugar is right now? 82. 82. It was 110 when we pre-bolus for lunch. It was 120 after lunch, and she had a crazy lunch. And so I just bumped it a little, brought it down again, cha-ching, right back to 82. Dexcom.com/juicebox. The link's in your show notes. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Here we go, more Jake Leach.
We do both. With all of our pump partners. Tandem is located right here in San Diego in Southern California, so it's a little easier because we can get right over there. But even with Insulet and our other partners, Lilly, we do it virtually, but we also have folks flying back and forth quite often. They visit us quite often. Our engineers fly back there. So it's a very integrated effort, because you can imagine trying to integrate the two different technologies. You need a lot of interface time between the teams. So we have teams and even governance structures set up to help manage the programs, because it's important to make sure everyone's on the same page when you're doing these integrations.
I understand.
So yeah, a little virtual and lots on site.
And so the release dates that are, very obviously fluid, that from all these companies, whatever their target dates are, not release dates, their target dates for getting their artificial pancreas stuff out into the world, that's not on you. You guys have done the work and provided the product. It's now in their hands to implement, test, get through the FDA and everything like that. Is that right?
Yeah. We're right, at this point right now, we support the integration. So as they determine exactly how the Bluetooth radio works with G6 or how they want to implement the algorithm, all those things, we're basically in a support role, making sure that all of that is working the way it's supposed to. We do supplemental testing to make sure their systems are implemented properly, so that it's communicating the right information back and forth with the G6. And so we have quite a bit of infrastructure internally that we've developed over time to support our number of partners. We knew early on that we wanted to support multiple insulin delivery partners and allow choice, and so we've built a R&D infrastructure to support that.
It handles that. That's amazing. Hey, speaking of the G6, it's going really well for Arden with the G6, and I can give you a great example. So when I interviewed you back when it came out, actually you said one thing that rang true eventually. I said, is somebody going to hack this thing and figure out how to restart it? And you were like, it's the internet. Someone will figure it out. And they did. And it's an incredibly popular post on my blog. So thank you very much. But the thing about Arden is this, like, people kept asking me, well, how does it work? How does it work? And my answer ended up being, you can't ask me that now. It seems like it's great, but I won't know until I get her A1C back, right? Like, are the decisions we're making for blood sugars low or high, bumping her up, bumping her down? Like, is that place that it's telling me I'm keeping her blood sugar? Like, how accurate is that? And I want you to know that her Clarity app, of course, at the moment doesn't just give you an A1C value, what it thinks, but it does give you an average blood sugar that you can easily translate to an A1C. And it very closely matched what our A1C ended up being after 3 full months on G6, and that was 5.4. It was our lowest ever.
Wow! Congratulations.
No, thank you very much.
Pretty exciting,
dude. It's the technology. The better it works, the easier what I do is. So we just keep Arden in a simple space, right? Like, we're alerted at 70 for the low. She gets alerted at 130 for a high. I get alerted at 120 for a high. And we live in a world where we try very hard not to give her very much insulin. Like, she's sort of just like trying to keep your car in the lane and just bump it a little bit this way, bump it a little bit that way. But if the G5 was telling me her blood sugar was 120 when it was actually, 130, those 10 points make a difference. So even just a little ratcheting down on the accuracy, look what it did. I went from, I think her last couple of A1Cs were like 6.1, 5.8, like in that range. And now doing nothing differently. And keeping in mind, by the way, that she's, I don't know if there's a delicate way, but she has blossomed into womanhood, Jake. So that there's that extra issues to deal with. 5.4, no significant lows. Like, really something. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I love to hear stories like that.
Yeah. I have the predictive alert. I don't see very often for the lows, but we don't get that low very often. But I did happen to see it last night after a long workout with softball. And then she kind of ate some carby stuff that I didn't get ahead of enough with a pre-bolus. And I did get woken up, I think, around like 2 a.m, and it just said her blood sugar. I think what it was, I forget what it said. Like, I forget what her blood sugar was, but it's like, we think you're going to be 55 in 20 minutes. And I cut her basal off for a little bit of time, gave her a tiny bit of juice. She went right back up to like 88, and I went right back to sleep. It was amazing. So,
awesome.
Yeah, really cool. With that in mind, the idea that every time something gets better, life gets better. Is there anything on the horizon that you can tease right now? What are you guys working on? Hey guys, dancingfordiabetes.com. Have you checked it out yet? It's dancing4diabetes.com. It's a great organization helping children with diabetes through dance. And don't forget, their 18th annual Dancing for Diabetes show is November 10th. If you're in the Florida area, click on that more information link when you get to dancingfordiabetes.com and find out more. They'd love to see you. Is there anything on the horizon that you can tease right now? What are you guys working on? Are you allowed to say?
Yeah, we're working on obviously quite a few insulin delivery integrations,
That's all you got? Is there a G7?
You know what? You got me at an interesting time, Scott. I'm working on what we're going to talk about at the EASD conference, and so I'm trying to remember what's public and what's not, and what can I talk about it. We've got, all I can say is we have a ton in the pipeline. That's been one of the exciting things about, a growing company is the amount of investment we make in our development is continuing to grow. So we're very excited about all the things we're working on. But I can give you something more exciting in the near future.
Next time we talk? Okay.
Yeah, next time we talk, let's schedule it around at when I can tell you some of our exciting new news. But as of right now, we're real focused on supporting G6. It's a big part of our development. We're also, quite a bit of our teams working on the next generation platform, which will come after G6. This is the work with our partners up at Verily.
Yeah.
That platform is going to be another leap in terms of convenience, size, comfort, and performance as well. So that's multiple years out. That's a next generation type of thing, but it is for the R&D team. It's one of our major focuses because it takes years to develop the technology.
Of course. Hey, I just have a couple quick questions from people on. Actually, just one real quick from people online.
Sure.
Speaking specifically about the T-Slim integration, there's a parent who wants to know if the Follow app will ever show if the Dexcom has suspended the insulin on the Dexcom follow-up. So the scenario is their child is somewhere, their blood sugar, predicted to be low, the pump suspended, but the parent somewhere looking at the blood sugar low, not knowing if that actually happened or not.
Yeah, it's something that we definitely want to implement. We want to implement more information in Follow, particularly around glucose and insulin information, and we're just now to the point with our insulin partners that we're starting to get some of that real-time insulin data, and so that we do want to put that into Follow and give the follower that information because we recognize how important that is. You've got the glucose information, but you also don't have the other piece of the picture. So we do want to offer that. So our infrastructure is capable of transferring that information to Follow. So it's just about developing the connectivity with the pump partners and the other insulin delivery partners.
Okay. The second question I got was from a parent of a teen who said that they've done a bunch of research that says that teens hear lower tones more easily. Wow, there's no English in that. But they hear lower tones better, and they were wondering if you might change or add some alerts that worked at a lower range.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen that, but we'll go look at it. We definitely support. We have a kind of the long list of alerts that are supported on the. I'm assuming we're talking about the phone app.
Yeah.
Here. And so we'll definitely look into. We haven't looked at that in a while in terms of changing those alert sounds, but it's a good suggestion. So we'll look at it.
Well, that's excellent. I can't thank you enough, Jake, for coming on. I don't want to take any more of your time. We had a little technical issue in the beginning, so we didn't get quite a half an hour like I was hoping for. But I really appreciate you doing this. And basically what I did, everyone, if you're listening, is I saw some stuff happening online. I was like, I don't understand what's going on. I wish I knew more. And then I thought to myself, hey, I have a podcast. I can find out if I want to. So I was like, I can just reach out and see if Jake will do this. So I really very much appreciate you coming on and doing this. And,
anytime, Scott.
For explaining it. And I look forward to finding out what's next. Are we talking about this year still in 2018 or?
Yeah. Let's chat. Let's chat after the EASD conference. So let's set up another podcast for October.
Oh, that sounds great. All right. Have a great day.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott.
Hey, I don't know how infrequent it is, but it's pretty rare that I record, edit, and post a show on the same day. But this is one. Today's September 11th, 2018. It was recorded, edited, and it is now for you. Hope you enjoyed a little check-in with Jake and Dexcom. Hopefully there's something in there that gets you excited or something in there that helps you with what you're doing right now. I want to thank Dexcom, of course, Omnipod, and Dancing for Diabetes for sponsoring the Juicebox podcast. Please go to dancingfordiabetes.com, myomnipod.com/juicebox, or dexcom.com/juicebox. There are, of course, links at juiceboxpodcast.com or in the show notes of your podcast app. When you click on them, it does help the podcast. Guys, I posted an episode between 180 and 181 that's a bonus episode. It's only like 3 minutes long. It explains a giveaway. There's a $25 Amazon gift card for the winners, and all I'm asking for you to do is tell me about what episodes of the podcast have been impactful to you and why. And I've been receiving some submissions. I think some people have been typing and sending in theirs through email. They might be a little nervous to record. I don't know, but I just wanted you to hear the most recent one so you had an idea of what people are doing and maybe give you a little motivation to do the same.
Hi, Scott. My name is Heather. I'm mom to a relatively newly diagnosed T1D. We were diagnosed in May, and it's September. I credit you and the blog with being the reason that my 5-month diagnosed type 1 diabetic went from over 14 A1C down to 6 in just 4 months. So thank you. I can't begin to thank you enough. I found your podcast in month 2 and have been trying to catch up on as many episodes as I can. The 2 that I found so far, particularly new in our world, that were, I think, really impactful, were episode 151 with Nicole, who was diagnosed at 17 and didn't really start managing.
That's all you have to do to enter, guys. Just use the recorder on your cell phone, make a recording, send an email. It's all set out for you so you can understand what to do. Like I said in the bonus episode, it's between 180 and 181. I think we're taking submissions for maybe another couple of weeks and then it's over. I'm using the information that everybody is sending to me to help new listeners kind of get into the podcast quickly. So your insight is incredibly invaluable. I'll see you next week.